I am currently working on a secret project, and that means that I'm not here to make videos. Although it's not that secret anymore, I think, but at least I didn't put a lot of effort in keeping it secret. Anyway, it's consuming all of my time and I'm not able to make videos for the next few weeks. And I think this is a great opportunity to give some airtime, YouTube time, to some creators that I really appreciate. And starting off is Dan, also known as The Lonely Rocker. And he's going to talk about recording guitar with cabinet simulations. Which, by the way, is a subject that I also need to learn some things about. So, really interesting video. And, well, Dan, take it away.
Who's there? Who's there? Oh, nobody. The thrill of recording with a real tube amp. That's what I'm talking about today. I'm the Lonely Rocker, and this is I Don't Have a Band. Wait a second. White Sea Studio? What the f is going... Did somebody cross the wires or something? Do I have to do everything? Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I forgot. Yes, I am guest hosting here on White Sea Studio. White Sea's off buying some more analog gear or something like that. Like he doesn't have enough, but he asked if I would fill in for him, and I am absolutely thrilled to do so. Thank you, White Sea, for the opportunity. I have been a fan of his channel for a couple of years, and we've got to know each other over the last little while. We've actually done a couple collaborations together. Maybe links to those will be around somewhere, or maybe not. You'll find them. But I am Dan, the Lonely Rocker. I have a YouTube channel called Lonely Rocker, so if you've watched all of White Sea's videos and you have nothing left to do, perhaps if he's in a good mood, he'll put a link in the description so you can come check me out. Anyways, yes, I do want to talk about recording a tube amp using the direct method, bypassing the cabs and then utilizing cab IRs and things in the mix just to really shape those really big guitar tones that I like. Now, people ask me, why even bother with a tube amp? I mean, in this day and age, you've got modeling amplifiers, you've got plugins, you could just play on headphones and just go to your heart's content. But I've got a simple answer to that question. Do you want to play video games or do you want to slide behind the wheel of a fine automobile? To me, there's no substitute for a real tube amp because I want to shape my tone. Listen, there's nothing wrong using plugins and modelers, but for me, the thrill is shaping tone with a real tube amp. That's where I have all my fun, and I know there's a lot of guys out there just like me. So what I want to do today is show you how I record direct and how easy it is, how to utilize cab IRs in the mix, and I've got some mixing tricks and especially layering tricks that I like to do to create really, really big sounding guitars. That's what I am talking about. I am the Lonely Rocker. Let's get started. Let's get into this. That little riff you heard there at the beginning was a combination of these two different amplifiers, and both of them were recorded direct. So let me talk about that. So we've got two different tube amps here, and both of them are really, really different in terms of how they connect to my system over here. So let's start off with the Marshall here. This Marshall setup with the two cabs here, that was sort of the foundation of my studio when I first started building it. Two little problems that came up pretty early on. Number one, volume. If you want to get this thing to sound good, you want to crank it. I'm here in a home, I've got a family with young kids upstairs. No recording at 2 o'clock in the morning. If I get a little inspiration, I'd be out in the street. I'm serious, if I did try to crank this amp at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be homeless. My wife really likes her sleep. So that didn't work. And the other thing is really the tone that you're hearing in the room is not the same tone that you're recording. That's really important to understand because I've spent years in front of my Marshall, just tweaking the amp and getting the sound just right. But when I started recording, obviously the effect of the microphone, whether you're going with two different microphones, placement, the angle, the effect of the room, it all combines to shape the sound of this amplifier, at least how it's recorded, right? It's never going to sound the same as it would be just standing right here in front of the amplifier. So I couldn't tweak the tone in real time because all I was hearing was the amp. I couldn't hear what I was recording until afterwards, so it became a guessing game. And You know what? I just didn't like that. So that's when I discovered Two Notes Audio Engineering. They've got their Torpedo Captor products. And what this is, it's a load box, DI, and a speaker sim. Now, understanding a tube amplifier, now imagine this thing creates a lot of energy, and that energy has to go somewhere. So when you connect it to a speaker cabinet, that energy is converted into sound. Now, number one, it's offloading that energy that's building up inside of the amplifier, and it's converting it into the sound so we can hear it. I just want to add that if you try to use a tube amp without some kind of load, you might start to see a little smoke coming out of the amp, and that's not a good thing. Also, the cabinet acts as a filter in a sense because that raw amp tone doesn't sound so good. So that combination between the amplifier and the speaker is what gives us that tone that we've grown to know and love. So the Torpedo product is great. So it'll offload that energy and then it'll convert it to a line level. So I can take a simple cable here, plug it directly into my audio interface, and I can receive that amp signal. And then you can use IRs. So IRs are impulse responses. These are snapshots of a speaker in a certain configuration that takes into account the microphone placement, even some ambience and things like that. Actually, Two Notes has a proprietary system called Dynamic IRs where they've actually taken hundreds of snapshots. So in their plugin, you can actually move the microphone around and change the ambience and things like that. It's really, really cool. But if you've got a favorite IR, you can load that in, use that with your raw amp tone, and you're good to go. So a really, really great solution. Allows me to record silently, but not compromising the tube amp tone that I really, really love. And like I said, I can work at headphones. I have a lot of flexibility. If you're recording with microphones, if you've got two microphones going, you have to be aware of phase issues and things like that. So it's simple, plug it in, record, and go. So a more recent addition to my studio here is this Hughes & Kettner Grandmeister Deluxe 40. Now don't let the small size fool you. It's a 40-watt amplifier, high gain amplifier, which is one of the reasons why I really liked it. But in fact, it's actually a 4-channel amplifier. So you've got crystal clean sounds all the way up to really, really ultra high gain. Now what's really cool about this amplifier, all this that I talked about, they've got it built into the amplifier. So you've got their Redbox technology. In fact, Hughes & Kettner was a pioneer in speaker sim. So they've incorporated that technology into the amplifier. So you've got a number of settings here on the back. This is analog speaker sim. And it's kind of different. It's like, the best way to describe it, it's like putting your ear right into the cabinet. It's a real full simulation, but you can shape your tone here. Like I said, you've got 4 channels and you've got actually built-in effects. You've got MIDI control. And then with the Redbox here on the back, they've got a couple different settings like cabinet sizes and more of a vintage or modern tuning. So you can get that going. And like I said, we're plugged in directly into the DAW. So any changes that I'm making here, I can hear in real time. And then when I record it, I'm going to get back exactly what I heard. And it's such a flexible way of recording. The other thing with this amp too is I can turn off the speaker sim, much like I did here, and record that raw amp tone. And then I can use any IR or any way of filtering that sound in the DAW. So if you want that flexibility. Now, if you're recording for guitar players, try not to give them too many options because they'll be stuck in your studio all day long. So if you want to commit that cabinet, you can print it. This Captor X actually has a built-in digital cab sim, so you can load any speaker sims that you've created with the desktop application, and you can actually save them in the unit, and then you can take it away. So it's fully portable. Great live device as well. But for recording in a session, you could have a number of cabinets ready to go, dial in that sound and print it, and not have to mess with IRs later on. That's great for session work if you just want to get it done. But if you like the flexibility like I do, then I can turn off all of the sims, take advantage of the DI technology, and then shape the final tone with the cabinet speaker sims in the DAW, and it's such an amazing way to work. So let's jump on the box. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. I want to show you some layering techniques and really show you the advantages of being able to record this way. Certainly the flexibility that it's going to bring to your sessions. So like I said, it's really easy to record guitars with this method. Here's something that I just recorded moments ago. I used the Hughes & Kettner amp. I turned off the cab sim and I plugged it straight into my interface, and let's take a listen to it. Now you can hear that really raw amp tone, but now that I've got it here in my DAW, I can apply my cab simulation using any number of different cab IRs. But what I'm going to do here, I've got the Two Notes wall of sound. Let me cycle through a few different cab simulations so you can hear the impact of that speaker simulation on the raw amp tone. you can see why I call this the ultimate hybrid method. I can use one amplifier, but I can just shape that tone so many different ways. Just using this one plugin, you can bring in your own IRs. There's other solutions out there, different plugins to help you craft that final tone, that final sound, and different styles of cab simulation. So as much as things like modelers and that will give you a lot of tonal options right from the beginning, including that amp simulation, I like to use my own amplifier, but I still have that range of tones if I want to just create a variety of different sounds. If I'm working for other guitar players, I can give them a lot of different options, and I don't need a whole stock of amplifiers here, but I can source that tone from a real amplifier, and that's, for me, a big part of the fun. All right, let's now go back to that riff from the opening, and I want to talk about layering guitars. Now, in this age of the DAW, we can be lazy. We can sort of rough our parts together, edit it until it's perfect. We can copy it. We can paste it to another track. But I'm going to break the news to you, that's not double tracking your guitars. Number one, guitar players out there, you got to learn your parts, you got to play them well. And you got to play them twice, at least. That's what I like to do. Just get the part down. And what I generally do, and often what I do, it's really simple. I'll use the same amplifier, the same tone settings. I'll play it once, let's say with the pickup in the neck position, and then I'll flip it to the bridge position. Just that alone will just make the guitar sound radically different without even turning a dial on the amplifier. Now, in this case song, I use two different amplifiers. There's so many different things you can do, but you can do it with one amplifier. It's really, really easy, and it'll give you a lot of flexibility using these cab IRs. Anyways, so the first one is the Marshall. I recorded it through the Captor 8 with no cab sim, so let's take a listen to that on its own. Then I added a cab sim and wall of sound to round out that tone. Now that guitar, I pan it hard left. And the next guitar, which I recorded through the Hughes and Kettner, I actually used the built-in cab sim on that one, and I pan this one hard right. Let's take a listen to that on its own. Now we've got these two guitar parts. I played them twice. Like I said, I know the part, but there's like these slight variations, the human element, and I find that creates a really interesting effect. Let's listen to those two guitar parts together and you'll hear what I mean. I absolutely love that effect. Now, the last part of the process is EQ, and White Sea is going to love me for this one. Now, here's a little EQ trick that I use for my guitars. Now, take a look at this curve. Now, this would be my template, but I don't use it just like this. I will tweak it for every guitar. But this curve is really important because it identifies some key areas of the guitar. When EQing an electric guitar, everything below 90 Hz is just mud. Get rid of it. It will just be competing with your kick and bass guitar. High pass it right out of the way. Between 150 and 200 Hz, you'll find the thickness of the guitar. Sweep around to find the meat. The life of an electric guitar sits between 300 and 1000 Hz. Make sure to find the sweet spot and boost until the guitar sings. Between 1000 to 2000 Hz, you'll often find undesirable tones. Find the offending bits and bring them down. And lastly, the brilliance and articulation of the guitar can be found between 3000 and 8000 Hz, so find a nice area to boost. Make sure to make all of these adjustments in the mix to ensure your guitars sound great and sit nicely with everything else. Now, if you take a look into this EQ curve that I applied to the other guitar, it's similar, but I've gone in and customized it for the needs of that guitar part. Now let me show you the before and after with the EQ in place on both tracks, just so you can see how it really cleans up the guitar and lets it sit better in the mix. Let's take a listen. Well, and that's it. Know your parts, record them twice, change your pickup, nice little EQ curve there, and you've got great sounding wide guitars. I love a big guitar sound. But I've actually used this on other genres. I did some tracks for a poppier track where, okay, it wasn't as heavy, but it still worked. I was even using a Tele style guitar where I had a distorted on one side, cleaned it up a little bit on the right side, did this similar kind of blend in EQ, and it just sounds really, really good. You can go to 4 guitars. There's other techniques I've used where I've added even 2 more tracks of guitars. Maybe that's something I'll cover on my channel, so if you want to check that out. But really a great technique. Would love to hear if you've given this a try or if you've got something similar that you do, or even something radically different. That's what the comment section's for. Well, that brings us to the end of this special episode of White Sea Studio. I want to thank White Sea so much for allowing me to host an episode here on his channel. It's not like I'm in his studio or anything, but one day, buddy. One day. But it was a lot of fun to get to speak to you guys. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, a like and a subscribe still goes to Whitesea, but it'll let him know that you enjoyed this video. And if you want to find me on YouTube, Lonely Rocker, never that hard to find. And the last thing I want to say, and I've been practicing this, so let's see how it goes. That subscribe button down below needs a little attention. Keep pushing. Bye-bye. Sorry, Whitesea, I think I just cut your grass.
All right. Yeah, so he already ended it. I only want to add one more thing, and that is next week there's another guest video. And if you want to know who it is or what that video is about, stay tuned. And bye-bye.